You're a fraud.
You're a liberal hack.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of The Hack and the Fraud. My name is Ryan. I am joined, as always, by Nicholas.
And I am here. Hello.
Today we are doing our classics. We've gone back to watch The Blair Witch Project. The Blair Witch Project is a 1999 American supernatural horror film. It's directed and edited by Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez. It stars Heather Donahue, Michael C. Williams, and Joshua Leonard.
I just want to apologize to Mike's mom and Josh's mom and my mom. I am so sorry because it is my fault. Because it was my project.
Nicholas, welcome to this late Friday night podcast. How you doing?
Ooh, I'm spooked.
I'll tell you what, I'm spooked.
I'm real spooked. Friday the 5th, you know.
The spookiest of the Fridays that aren't the 13th. That's what I've always
Second
said.
spookiest, maybe. Top 3. But we've just been spooked out of our minds. So.
We've watched The Blair Witch Project, which is more than 20 years old now. But a classic it remains. Nicholas, give me your thoughts on The Blair Witch Project.
22nd year anniversary, so naturally.
The spookiest of all. No.
We actually don't know when this footage came out. It could have been from 22 years ago. It could have been from 30 years ago. It's unfound footage that was found.
Yeah, it came out in 99. But yeah, I get what you mean. It was very spooky.
Look, I've only seen it once before.
You've only seen it once before. That's right.
This is the second time.
I've seen it more. This is actually my favorite horror movie. I don't know.
You said that. It's interesting that's your favorite.
Well, after having you watched it, tell me what your opinion is.
It's not my favorite.
It's pretty good though.
It's pretty. So the second watch, it sort of lives in its own 90s world. I think it lives in its own little, time that it came out. And
well, it's a found footage film. I mean, that alone makes it quite of its time, I suppose. Because when was the last time we saw a found footage film?
Yeah, it's true. Like, I think Wreck,
which was 2009, I think.
I really just can't remember many other ones, but like it's such a great
there's Cloverfield
concept.
As well.
Cloverfield, that's right. Yeah. But it kind of, it's got its own little time period because I don't think we'll see too many more films. Maybe there will be some in the future.
Well, here's my thing is that this is the perfect found footage film.
Exactly.
So it did start a genre. Oh, Paranormal Activity, of course.
Oh, yeah.
It did start a genre, but it's kind of one of those things. I'm trying to think of another example where something is kind of so successful that it kickstarts its own kind of little field, but nothing ever surpasses the original. I'll try to think of...
yeah, you do that.
An example, but while you tell me the rest of Blair Witch Project opinions.
So I watched it when I was at school, and I think I used to get spooked by a lot more movies. I remember when I watched The Ring, I never watched that video that kills you in 7 days.
Right.
I was just like, I don't want to risk it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't want to risk death to watch a stupid little... Well, it wasn't. It was like, I found that really scary, and I was just
This is how I feel about roller coasters and stuff at like Dream World.
Right.
They're like put together by methed out carnies. It's like, look, I probably won't die, but do I want to take the risk? Is going on it, aka watching the Ring video, worth dying for?
Exactly.
If it's not worth dying for, why take the risk?
And so eventually you get old and you realize you were a bit of a stupid kid.
No, I was right. Don't go on any fucking rides. Like, they're dangerous, man. Sorry, yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it sort of, you probably need to be of a certain age to really, I found...
Be spooked by this movie?
No, be spooked in general, I think. I think it's real, like, that's what I mean. It's sort of, it's a great film, a great, like, entrance into horror. And I think in terms of the dread it invokes, it probably doesn't really have an equal. So you'd never see. We'll get straight into
this is the good
spoilers.
Spooky spoilers. This is the good thing about watching a 22-year-old movie. If you haven't seen it by now, we'll just go watch it. It's on Netflix. Go watch it. It's on Stan, actually. Go watch it. Come back and listen to the pod.
It's found footage, so it's been found.
Go find the footage.
But yeah, you never ever see the Blair Witch, and I love that so much because you know what you do see? You see your own imagination just filling in the blanks.
They give little descriptions.
Yeah, you get little sort of like, but it's like when you read the book and you watch the movie. It's your own imagination at play, and
the imagination always wins.
You are creating like this monster. You're like, what is this thing that's doing this to them? And you never see it, and so that just plays in your mind the whole movie.
Pretty much, the only thing you see throughout the movie, the only things in the movie that could be even called scary are kind of like weird noises and some stick figures and some rocks.
Yeah,
and it is, in my opinion, I know this is crazy, but the scariest movie I've ever seen. It's still that scared me. Chilled me to the bones.
If you explain this movie to someone, they'll be like, what is wrong with you, you damn pussy? No, but like, it's just one of the things that just works. The actors being never acting in any other films besides this one. They play their own names.
Well, Heather is really good, isn't she? The lead. Like her crying at the end is great. I mean, I used to think maybe when I was younger that she's kind of overacting or kind of being annoying. But then as I've grown up, I've seen more people like that in my real life. Who kind of have that. They put on a persona, and then by the end of the movie, that persona is completely broken down.
It's broken down. Yeah, that's right. So essentially, that's exactly right. They're presenting for the first half of the movie. They're presenting because they know they're on film.
That's right.
They're aware. They're sort of presenting. They want to come across as cool, 90s cool. That is
90s cool. It's very 90s
it's
cool.
Very
like,
90s cool.
I like the dude with long hair and like a shark tooth and like denim and it's great.
That's right. And then by the end, they do not want to be on camera, and that's kind of where the film kind of finds it really difficult to
be a film still.
To be a film still, when they've got the camera running and they keep mentioning that the camera's let's say a character in the film.
Stop it. New York is a character.
It's a character. It's in the film.
No, but it is, because that's like the point of view of the whole movie is from the camera. The camera switches to people, but they address the camera like a character almost.
Oh, God, I feel like it's
cinema. Hashtag
cinema. And essentially because they're amateur actors, it does feel real in the sense that their acting is kind of bad at the start, and it's like.
But it kind of, I don't know.
It works. It works. That's right. But also, it doesn't at the same time a little bit, because you're sort of with very good actors. So I'll bring up our own Toni Collette from Hereditary.
God, I thought you were going to say Leonardo DiCaprio,
who's also really
good.
Probably the best.
He's good. We're the best.
One of the goodest. Well, we're going to do this now. I guess we've got time.
So
Toni Collette in Hereditary
is so good.
Got snubbed for an Oscar, I think. I think she should have been nominated. She wasn't nominated. That's okay. I'll live with it.
I'm not going to, yeah.
But her performance is just so good. It carries the whole film. She emotes so well. And you sort of really... You die with her when she's on screen, and then you're sort of like, you know what I mean? Like when
but that is
crying,
kind of what the movie wraps itself around as well with Toni Collette, is that she is the centerpiece of that movie and her acting is the centerpiece of that movie. Whereas this movie, the acting is not the centerpiece of the movie, and it never wants to be. You know, it's the atmosphere, it's the dread, like you mentioned. I still think the actors are great. I mean, I don't know if they would work in anything else. And I think it's obvious, like, you know, you read up a bit about the production and how they, you know, genuinely made these people tired and cranky and, you know, covered in water and, you know, like their clothes are wet and they're seeing and hearing things at nighttime, and you can really feel that. So maybe we don't give them too much credit, much like Leonardo in The Revenant. It's not acting if you're just living it. But
did you just make us watch this just so you can tear into
Seems
Leonardo?
Like a weird bow to draw between Blair Witch and Leonardo.
I don't know how you've drawn that bow. Like, you bring him up more than me.
I do, because I'm going to convince the world.
Okay, also I'll say that's exactly right. I think it's so ambitious.
Exactly right. You're right. I am right.
With how they throw their actors into these situations, and what you're seeing is like they're genuinely frightened. They're genuinely cold. Everything's like especially at the end, you feel like they don't know what's going on, because they're kind of thrown off script. It's kind of like Tropic Thunder.
Well, yeah. Apparently, I mean, there was a basic script, but the script was basically like basic outlines of scenes and then improvise from there. And you can see that really come through. My favorite my bit of trivia from the movie is when they're in the tent at night and they hear babies crying outside, which is brutal as well. And then the tent starts rustling. So they run away in the middle of the night, and she screams, "What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that?" It was the director was on the hill wearing like a hockey mask and like holding a knife or something. And they had no idea that was going to be there. So obviously the reaction was genuine. Because imagine seeing that in the middle of the night.
Yeah, and you don't see it because if you were to turn around and see a hockey mask,
that's not that scary for us, the audience, but for her it was, and we don't see it in the movie. Again, you don't see anything in the movie. I
think that's right, and I think that sort of idea of what makes a horror has sort of come back around. I think in a lot of films that have been made recently, it's that fear of the unknown, which is a dread. It's just like everything's so scary until you see it. That's why Alien works so well. Alien, you don't see the alien until the very end of the movie, and you're not sure what's happening. What is this thing that's just
So that's almost a bad example because the alien is such a good character, horror movie. What's it called? Not character.
I don't think so.
Monster design.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm trying to think of an example where it's like, oh, it's scary. What is it? And then you see it and you're like, oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's everything. Honestly, I think that's like even
true. Nothing is as good as your imagination.
Yeah. What's another? It's like a pretty good film. What's it?
I've probably seen it then.
It's a scary one. James Wan. Oh god, I should have written this one down. It's weird that the guy looks like Darth Maul and he's behind the guys. He's got that Wilson guy. That's always in the scary movies.
I wish you could see what Nick's doing right now.
I don't know.
He's showing me what the monster, but I got no idea.
Show don't tell, right?
Yeah.
Also, it was one of the first films to ever really use an online marketing campaign strategy to promote the film.
Well, this is my favorite. This is my favorite part of movie chat. Marketing campaigns. Go.
Here we go. Right. So let me tell you a bit about marketing. Now, essentially, before this, it kind of before the film came out, it had its own website, and it's just like
which websites were new, probably.
Well,
the
websites.
90s. Yeah.
90s, exactly.
What's this website? Oh, what am I on? Is this email? What is email?
Yeah,
exactly. That's a good impression.
I imagine that's what it would have been like for people in the 90s. And they created this website. It's just like found footage film, and they fed them little snippets every now and then.
Yeah.
Other
in an alternate reality game?
This.
Was that what it was? An alternate reality game where it's kind of like it feels they're trying to make it seem like it's a real thing.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's just like what is this? It's like you sort of go down and you get sort of fed new bits of information every week leading up to the release of the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
So this is kind of where it lives and dies, I think, because a lot of people loved it. It is, like you said, a lot of people's favorite horror movies. A lot of people were hyped out of their own skin to watch something that didn't, for them, eventuate on screen. And that's like, they're both sort of fair.
Didn't eventuate in the sense that they weren't.
They were like expecting the absolute world, or this like, they were maybe expecting
like the best horror movie ever. They got it.
Right, yeah. So, like they didn't sort of,
also,
they wanted something and they didn't feel they got it.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the thing. It's like
was that a part
their
of
own imagination was playing a part. So they're like, "What is this that's going to happen?" Everyone's got. I think it was like the must-watch event.
Was that part of their reaction at the time of people being somewhat disappointed with the end result?
I think so, and I thought as well, it probably doesn't age as well, especially when you watch it a second time. A lot of horror films kind of, when you know what's coming up, when you know what's happening, it doesn't really help it the second time.
I get what you mean.
Notable example of the opposite, though, is Hereditary. I got to plug that. I do love that film. We should actually do that again.
Yeah,
I love that film.
Well, this is one movie that I've watched, half a dozen times, and I just give it enough time in between each viewing that when I do come around to it again, it seems equally as scary as the first time. It's this movie, it grabbed me again, and it grabs you early. I forget how early it grabs you because I was expecting a lot more build up where they're just kind of traipsing through the woods, but it's a short movie. It's an hour 20, and about 20 minutes into it, they're already frustrated. They're already getting scared. They're already sick of it, and then it just builds from there. I will say also the sort of prologue where they're setting everything up really adds to the film in the sense that it sets the reality early. It's a bunch of interviews, short vignettes with alleged townsfolk talking about the Blair Witch. And whether they believe in this myth of the Blair Witch, just sort of vox pops with people in the street. And I found that, they're not actors, I don't think. There must just be people that, the filmmakers knew or something, like an old guy or like a mum, just these different characters talking about it. It really sets the tone early as this sort of realistic, and I know that's what they were going for with the marketing and everything, making it this uber realistic, like, ooh, this actually happened kind of thing. But it really works in that first 20 minutes, setting up the film with these, like, there's two guys fishing. They don't seem like actors. They just seem like real people talking about it. I love that. And it set the tone for the rest of the movie.
I like how they talk over each other too. It's just like that they're not actors because they're talking out of turn, and they're sort of they're arguing about what they saw, and it's like, you're full of shit, whatever. Like some guy didn't even want to be on the screen.
Yeah,
they
that's
have
right.
To ask him, do you actually want to,
He's like, I don't care much.
I don't care much for TV around these parts.
And he's like, well, you got to say yes or no. And he's like, oh, what? Yes, sure. But yeah, exactly. I love that.
Yeah, it does. I don't think. Yeah, I think there's been a lot of other found footage films that never really quite captured that real person.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
That real kind of like conversation that you'd get with just Joe Blow.
Well, and that's right.
It's always been like,
yeah, like acting, like, oh yeah, I've heard about the story of the Blair Witch, nonsense. And it continues throughout the movie with the three leads who, again, not professional actors, haven't really done anything before or since, and they talk over each other, or like they kind of mess up their line, but it doesn't sound like they're messing up their line. It sounds like somebody who's trying to speak, and because when you do speak, like I'm doing right now, like anybody speaks, the sentences aren't fully constructed like they are in scripts. They're just a jumble of thoughts all kind of mushed together into a sentence and a conversation that's kind of going, but these two people just trying to exchange thoughts in the imperfect language of humans, and that's what and I don't know. So
speak for yourself.
Well, that reality like ties through the whole movie. I think that grounds the movie in a way that makes it scary in a way that it wouldn't if they didn't have that kind of reality to their dialogue.
Yeah, and you just don't really kind of see that in anything else.
No, because it is so amateur.
It's amateur, and that's what works for it. But like I said, I still think it kind of works against it, especially at the end when you really want to be just with the characters when they're emoting on screen, and they're just because like part of the reason they were amateur film, I guess, is so they could just wipe these guys out. They were like first time in a film, never in a film again. It lends sort of weight to the fact that this was found footage. It's like, well, these guys are not actors, then why they wouldn't just appear in this film?
Yeah,
you can't do that. So.
Actually, that reminds me, because I kind of forgot that this is not I mean, it is the first super popular found footage film, but there was also Cannibal Holocaust, which did a similar thing. Did you ever watch Cannibal Holocaust? And they thought the actors were real people who were killed, and there was a whole thing with the filmmakers.
Oh, true, that's right. But they did use real actors though.
They did, but it was similar. I think like similar, no names.
I do want to watch that. I think it's Eli Roth, isn't it? Or is that no?
No, he did
a remake.
He did like not a remake, but an inspired by Cannibal Holocaust is 84.
Oh, okay.
Which is I think 84. Don't quote me, unless I'm right. In which case, I'm actually good at that. Anyway, Eli Roth. Yeah, no, he did Green Inferno. I think it's called.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's a good one to watch. I've never seen it, but
it's not a good one to watch. Really, it's over the top. Just really gratuitous violence, and also they killed animals in the making of it. And 84 seems too late to be doing that. Like,
but I mean, like killing animals. I mean, seriously.
Well, on camera. Like,
no, have you never heard of Milo and Otis? That came out in the 90s.
I don't know Milo and Otis. I have not heard Milo and Otis.
Milo and Otis is a dog and a cat, and they literally had to use
dog and cat?
25 dogs and 25 cats because they kept killing them.
Jesus,
that's true. That was the 90s. They could kill people, animals back then.
Yeah,
they killed. No, I'm sure a guy died on set of Twilight Zone.
Brendan Lee.
Yeah, people
Brendan Lee
died on film. What do you mean?
No. As in, like, they intentionally, ritualistically killed the animals, like, because it's set during it's set in the Amazon in a tribe, and they literally just killed a bunch of animals on purpose, ritualistically for camera, which feels kind of weird to do. I don't really know many movies. Wake and Fright kind of did that. That's an Australian movie, but that was kind of different. They went on a kangaroo hunt, like a licensed, sanctioned kangaroo hunt, and they just filmed that. But it was still horrific.
That's right, they did too.
That's a bit too realistic for my movie taste. If I'm being honest.
What if it's a cull? What if you need to get him? Like,
do we need to cull? Oh, this is not a conversation for the movie cast. Blair Witch Project. How much of that section are we going to cut out?
I probably
none of it.
When I start talking.
All right. So further opinions. So we like the acting. Well, I like the acting. We're gonna.
No, I do. No, I agree. I agree with the acting.
Yeah.
I just said when it comes to a resolution at the end, when you sort of really need to be immersed in the film, and you are up until this point, but when you really okay, so
where does it
when
lose you?
When you're being empathetic, I like it, the crying scene.
Really? I think that scene's so good.
Yeah, I used to think that. I just don't think it's quite that good. I just don't think it's that good.
I believe it though.
Okay?
I watch it.
I think it's believable, sure, but it's just not.
If you're a schmuck.
No, well, it's like they're not. Yeah, at that point they're not really acting. It's true. But they're still because it is amateur. You sort of not really.
I do get what you mean.
Yeah,
there's a small element of.
Explain
no, you're explaining it well. There's a small element of. I think maybe that watch more than previous watches. I did, and I mean, you watch the same act scene a bunch of times. You obviously get critical of it. There were some moments obvious where I'm like, okay, these are obviously amateur actors, but I think the more overwhelming part for me is that I'm surprised by how little I'm taken out of the movie, considering that the three leads are just completely amateurs, and it is a very character-driven, emotional kind of movie where a lot of the drama centers around the fact that these characters are going through hell and are slowly losing their grip on reality, on sanity. And I'm not often taken out of the movie despite them being amateurs. I think, like I said before, the acting is kind of the least important part of the movie, weirdly, even though it is very much, it's not the cinematography that's the good bit. There's no music.
It's not very visceral too. And that's, it doesn't need, I mean, like you see films now, they just got I guess with the high tech equipment, it's just so effortless to be so beautiful on screen as much as it used to be, like, and it kind, that's what I mean. It kind of still loses a bit of appeal due to the fact that there's so many more technically sound films.
I think it adds to it because it looks like it's filmed on like a DV handycam from the 90s, like the same sort of handycam that my dad had or like anybody had. Which makes it feel more realistic because it's not shot in like, full HD and beautiful kind of widescreen panoramic, full color Dolby Digital. It's just
3D.
Yeah, it's
4D.
It's literally like a shit digital camera, and then they do have a nice 16mm camera, which is black and white, but still, it's black and white, and so. I think that adds to it for me because it adds to the reality of it. It feels like, well, a normal movie would never use a camera like this, obviously. I guess it all ties into the amateurish nature of it, which just while you're watching it, you can believe that you're watching something real, which is what I want from movies, really, is not to feel like I'm watching a movie, but to feel like I'm watching just a story unfold. And this has done it in a very different way than most movies do, obviously.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And the ending. How good's the ending?
You like the ending?
I do love the ending. Of course I do.
The ending's great.
It's still just so, like, it's an ending that I've seen many. So I've seen that particular scene. When you just rewatch it again. I just love how everything's kind of like shown but not shown. And it's, to me, it's like that is exactly what horror is. It's like you're finding more pieces of the puzzle, but those pieces just make a scarier picture, but you still got no clue what's going on.
Yeah,
and that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm just taken. I always think that ending that it really sold the movie.
The ending ends kind of 2/3 of the way through the movie when they find all the stick figures floating in the forest. Those are my two favorite scenes when they walk into the kind of, not a clearing because there's a bunch of trees, but just stick figures hanging from the trees, especially the one that's kind of like big furry looking one, and then they're just kind of there. Even thinking about it now makes me very uncomfortable. But then, the finale where they kind of go into the house and, when Mike is just standing in the corner.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh.
It's given birth to sequels and it's given birth to, like you said.
I bet in the sequel you see like a CGI monster version of the Blair Witch. She's like floating and,
Of course you do. Yeah, I've seen it. You do see it.
Oh, really?
You do see it.
Really?
And it's like, thanks for that.
I never watched it.
Yeah. Nah, it's terrible. The sequel's so bad.
I might look it up just to see what they've done to like show off the Blair Witch, to see how shit it is in comparison to what I'm imagining. Because what I'm imagining is, I mean, you can't even describe it, right? Because I can't even see it perfectly. But the feeling that it invokes inside of me is one of pure dread and like some sort of ancient evil. And that was part of the movie as well. I think being in the forest, like the dry forest, even though that is a thing that is done a lot in horror movies these days, there's something about the crackling of the twigs, kind of like bones, and all the the bundles of sticks. Don't say it. And and the stick figures, and the wood. I don't know what it is, but it feels sort of ancient and evil, and that is the feeling I get when I think of the Blair Witch. And I just would love to see what the 2013 sequel CGI fucking bullshit tries to replicate.
Yeah, look, it's essentially just it's a cash grab. It's a cash grab sequel. Yeah, like I said, it gave birth to the idea, the concept of found footage films. I mean, I reckon without this film, you probably don't see a game like Slender Man, right? I just think that they sort of use Blair Witch as like
their template.
As their template, yeah. So, which I mean, like if you remember when you first played Slender Man, which we've all probably played, the first time you play is with headphones on, where you sort of you probably break someone's laptop. Maybe who would do that?
If you still haven't done that, it's probably still worth a play.
It's so scary, and obviously that's the thing. Once you know what it is, you get better and you get braver.
Oh, we should do it again.
I got really scared the first time. I didn't. Oh, the first note was for me, but that's what I mean. It's just like that first watch for this movie. You'll never ever get that first watch again.
No, you won't. It's a horror movie.
Yeah. You never get that first watch again. You never get your first time again.
Always remember your first one. All right. Well, we're getting towards the end, so we'll wrap it up now. Final opinions then, and final score.
Final opinions. I've said them all, mate. And
if you were listening before,
if you've been bloody listening, I've been saying them the whole time. Look, it's a 6.5 on IMDb. That's pretty low.
That's really low.
It's and the Metascore's around the same. I'm obviously higher than that.
You're not high enough, mate.
No, I'm about 8, and eight's good because it's a lot of the carry is from just the ambitiousness and the sort of the drive behind the movie and the idea. So like the brain's trust behind the movie generating what would become its own little unique trope, I guess.
Yeah,
drives this movie a lot.
Surely anything that develops something that significant almost has to.
It doesn't have to be. No, it's still an 8 for me, and I think 8's generous, but also at the same time, it's fair.
Well, I obviously love the movie. There's very little. I'm just going through it now. My nitpicks, the nitpicks at best that I can come up with for criticisms. So I don't know whether, because it's not perfect, but is anything perfect? Is there such a thing as a perfect movie with no nitpicks whatsoever?
We can do a perfect movie tomorrow if you want, Interstellar.
There's no nitpicks in that. Probably not.
No, you got nitpicks, of course.
Well, then if there's nitpicks, it
comes down to taste.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm just deciding.
Give it a 10. Go on. If you want to give it a 10, give it a 10.
I'm just... Do the nitpicks take it down 0.5 a mark? I don't know. But... Because now I'm thinking about horror movies and how I'm affected by horror movies. I'm comparing this to horror movies and possibly found footage movies specifically. The nitpicks are very, very small, like 10 seconds of acting in the whole movie kind of thing. So fuck it. Blair Witch Project, 10 out of 10. That's a perfect horror movie. You can't get better than that. Apart from Hereditary, apparently. But
that's quite good. It's a 10. That's the first 10 of the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, we're watching a 22-year-old classic.
Has Ryan just thrown away a 10 like that, like it's nothing?
It's not nothing.
No, a 10's a 10, mate. A 10.
The only other 10 horror movie that is in my head at the moment is Midsummer, the director's cut. That's my favorite Ari Aster.
Fair enough. I wouldn't argue that one, but I would argue that this is not a 10.
Well, I mean, we've had our argument. We've had half an hour of our argument. It's too late now to bring up more points.
Fine, you give it a 10, and that's right. You just give this a 10. I guess you can do that.
Well, next one we'll do one of your 10s, and then we can get the world to have a look at whether your 10s are worthy.
Stop trying to do my 10s, mate.
Well, Interstellar is a 10 for both. Anyway, all right. So that was it for the Blair Witch Project. That was episode 5, the big 5.
Yep. Happy anniversary.
Still single digits, but we're getting there. It's been great having you as always. Yeah.
That's it, mate.
That's pretty much it.
If you haven't told people about this podcast, might as well do it now.
Yeah, please. Oh, yeah.
5 episodes in a row now. You might as well put in some work.
Yeah, that's right. And again, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Nobody really has liked us since the last time I mentioned, so maybe jump on it this time. And
prove us wrong.
Yeah, that's right. Like, we think this is going nowhere. You can show us up.
Prove us wrong. Like, this is stupid. We shouldn't do this.
Listening to this is a really dumb idea. Don't do this. Also, don't give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. That would not help us at all.
Wait, don't tell them to do that.
Wait, no, yeah, definitely do it. Definitely give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and give us a follow, maybe even a share. My sister's done a really good job of that, so thanks.
All right, do you want me to do a final little cutaway?
Oh, yeah, right. What's your catchphrase for this week? I know I've been throwing you under the bus with this one, but you should really prepare by now your catchphrase for the week.
I should prepare a catchphrase every week.
And here it is.
I'll prepare. Like, I need to prepare, and I should be preparing every week. So, for instance, this week...
Stop stalling.
Go out there and do that thing. What's stopping you?
Go out there and do that thing. What's stopping you? The longest catchphrase so far, but the most poignant. Thank you for joining us for Hack and Fraud episode 5. We'll be back next week. We might cut this bit, but what are we watching next week?
Oh, the one you said, maybe.
What did I say?
I don't know. There's something on Stan or something like that.
Boytown?
No, it was another one. You said there's another one. You said it was by David Fincher. We might do that.
Oh, Mank. David, yeah, because we'll be watching a new movie next week.
It's David Fincher. Like, come on, you guys love
it. We'll put a poll out. Do you guys want to see a David Fincher passion project filmed in black and white and old-timey style about the writing of Citizen Kane? You don't have to pretend you've seen Citizen Kane, but it does help.
But it's David Fincher. Hey, it's David Fincher, eh? You know, he does all those David Fincher. That's his thing, right?
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening. Probably we'll cut out a bunch of that. Yeah. This might be the worst podcast ever. So thanks if you've made it this far, thank you very much. We'll be back on form next week for Mank.